All right, so here's a quick or not so quick update about what's been happening the past few days. So since Sunday, which was, let me find the date for you. It was like January 25th. From that day, I decided to go all in on my purpose and on working on the offer. And so I worked on the community, creating that best offer possible since that day. And that was the day I decided there's no coming back. I'm just gonna do this full time basically. And so I talked to my workaway hosts. I had like arranged a talk with them, and then eventually we had the talk, and then the guy didn't process it the same day, so then it kept going on for like the next 2 or 3 days, especially like especially the 29th and the 30th. I'm checking the dates, and then the 31st was the last day there. Actually, like, I guess we got closure on everything, and then I left on February 1st morning, or sorry, was it this is where I got the dates wrong. So I think February 1st was my first day here. The morning of February 1st, I think it was the 31st. So I left the 31st in the morning. Yeah, I remember now. 31st, I left on the morning, so the 30th was the day I got the closure and everything. The 27th and the 28th, I remember posting a lot of videos on the 27th, and I also posted a video on the 28th. And then on the 29th and the 30th, they were spent between shadow work and just like grieving so much of the old identity. I thought I had grieved from 2022, but this like new layer of it, it's like an onion layer, and it was like a deeper layer, and I did that, and wow, and I released the resistance to the workaway itself, to being there. Like, I released my need for it, and that's when I finally had the conversation again, the follow-up, and it finally happened. And then yeah, we had to move out of there. But yeah, the 31st, the morning, like 7 to 8, I think I ended up working on the website for an extra hour till 8, and then I left at 8. So I ended up leaving, like, it was around 9 when I was waiting for the Uber to pick me up. Uber and Bolt, because in that area, Bolt is more common. And basically it took me to like 11 to 12, 11:30, 12-ish a.m., 12 p.m. until around noon to find an actual driver, because basically what happened was, and I haven't posted a video since then. So I just want to update you on the past few days. Today is actually the 3rd of February. And let me just tell you, so big highlight on the 31st. It was so hard to leave that city, basically. Every driver on Bolt would say like 120,000 Guarani, which was like 25 Canadian dollars. And they would actually like text you and say, hey, I want 280K to make it worth my trip. And that was like obviously more than double, so almost triple. So I'm like, no, I'm good. And I kept doing that, and I reported them for wanting money off the app in cash and blah blah blah. And then I got my Bolt account banned for a day, basically. Oh, you were requesting too many rides. Your account has been suspended for a day, something like that. So I was like, oh great, how am I getting there? So then I went on Uber. I tried it again. I got the same fucking driver. And so what I ended up happening was, I went to the front gate of this workaway and I tried to get a ride there. It just wouldn't work. The only guy, he wanted me to pay the toll separately, and I'm like, but the toll fee's already included in there. And guess what happened? Then I was so late because I was planning on leaving at 7 to 8. And at 10, the hosts were going to the city. So I ended up like trying to get an Uber for an hour while I was at the front door. At the front gate, and then I just ended up going to the city with them at 10, and so I waited there for like an hour, and then I went to the city with them, and that is where I waited for all the other Ubers. Now what happened was, during that first hour, the same Uber guy, I ended up like, it was the same driver that picked it up again, and when I got banned off Bolt basically for a day, I switched back to Uber, and it was the same freaking guy, and he's like, you have to pay the toll separately. And then I was like, what the hell is going on here? And I'm like, fine, how much is it? And he's like 15,000. So I was like, okay, so this guy only wants 15,000. I'm like, how much is 15,000? I looked it up. It was like $2.80. I'm like, dude, I've been stalling for $2.80 Canadian. That's not even like $2 American. So I'm like, okay, let's do this. And then right before I did that, I noticed, I'm like, what's the meaning of this? What's the reflection of this? And I noticed something so important, which is that it was a test for my abundance. Like, it was like a test to embody more and more abundance. And to someone else, that might be like a scam or something like that. But to me, it was actually proving to myself, let me raise the camera. But to me, it was actually proving to myself, or yeah, that I can embody that state and to be able to afford it and to find a way to afford it. Now, mind you, I had no money before this point, and I had no specific plan. All I knew is I need to go back to Asuncion, and that's where things are going to happen for me. And so what ended up happening was I had another $100 left over as a Christmas gift from like family. So I used half of that for the Uber, or a bit less than that. And then I'll tell you what happened. So, and I used the rest for that. I manifested like $600 that day. So here's what happened. I finally got it. So I ended up just withdrawing cash, and I gave him the cash, 15,000. He's like, perfect, no problem. And yeah, he dropped me off exactly where I wanted to. So I'm like, I need to go to Asuncion, but obviously to the Uber, I need to tell him the actual location. Well, in the app, not to him. One sec, I gotta turn off my... Alright, I guess I'll do a part 2. My alarm went off for 6:55. I'm supposed to sleep in 5 minutes. But let me just finish this video first. So, my cast iron was on the heat. It was still on and smoking, so I had to just turn that off real quick. But the point is, I should probably open some windows. Let's take you with me. I'm now in this apartment, but let me tell you how I got here. So, let me just open this window. Alright. We're on the 17th floor, by the way, which is pretty cool. The best part is when you open the windows to cook, no flies come in because you're on the 17th floor. Also, no bugs, no mosquitoes, no nothing. So my legs have healed overnight within the same day, not even 24 hours, because I'm not constantly being bitten by so many fuckers. So yeah, there's just so many things I'm grateful for. Not to sound like I'm complaining or hated the other place. It's just like, it feels like an upgrade, and I'm moving up, and that's great. And yeah, of course, one of the biggest things was to be grateful for where I was, because it's like you gotta be grateful for all the stepping stones. But I'm just glad I'm not experiencing that anymore, and I'm experiencing better. And speaking of better, I feel like what I'm experiencing now, which by the way, I'm in the richest neighborhood in Asuncion, Las Carmelitas, and I'm in an apartment. Obviously, I'm not using any of the amenities because I've been working, but I could have. And the shower here, it's amazing, 10 out of 10 experience. I've never had a shower this good. But the point is, I ended up manifesting this apartment on the 31st. And so here's what happened. So I was like, I needed to have a location to, oh, I hope the noise isn't too bad. I needed to give a here, let me just stand here in front of the fridge. I needed to give a location to the Uber. So I'm like, where am I going? And I knew I needed to do my residency documents because my deadline is the 12th of February, unless I renew it or do something like that. But my 90-day traveler's visa, basically, stamp, whatever, expires on the 12th of February. And again, today's the third or fourth? Third, I think. Third, yeah. Third. Fourth, I gotta check out tomorrow morning. So, that's in like 9 days, and I didn't start the residency process, and it takes a week to start the residency process, but once you start it, you can extend. So that's a way of doing it. However, it costs $1,700 to $2,300 how I'm doing it, USD. So I gotta find a way to make that money. So the plan all along has been to, I'm not sure how much of this I've updated you in January and December, but I was basically at the workaway from December 4th to January 31st. So basically 2 months. And I was trying to launch. I was working on my launch and on my offer and on purpose work toward the end, because I just started only doing my excitement, but then still balancing that with 5 hours of volunteer work, and realistically I was doing more like 5.5 hours, and And then I decided to only do what I want and only do the purpose work, and obviously also accelerate the rate at which I was launching. And now I can launch in 1 or 2 days because I've just 10x my progress this morning within an hour from a huge like $10,000+ realization I hit. But the point is, I've been achieving so far what I planned out to do this entire time, which is to make a significant amount of progress toward my launch. But lots of things happened. So one thing was, today I realized the launch is not actually the goal, because to make the $1,700 to $2,300, I was like, how am I gonna make that money? And then I backtracked it. I'm like, oh, I have to do this to do that. And I realized that's not the authentic spiritual path for me. That's like the pure business way, the survival-based way of trying to force it. And when I realized that, I'm like, so how am I gonna make the money though? How am I gonna support myself? And then I realized it's not about that. It's not about the money. It's about being in the right frequency. And when you're in the right frequency, you'll be supported and following the stream of what you pre-planned for yourself. So basically, it's about getting back on the path being your life plan, your purpose energy. When you're in your purpose energy, you're on that path. And so I tapped into an ungracious amount of purpose energy all of like this entire stay, basically, especially this morning. Like the first half of my day was absolutely insane. I felt on top of the fucking world. And yeah, like I have basically come to fully embody my purpose, or I don't know exactly what my percentage is to 100%, like I don't know, but it feels like it's 93 to 100. I would say 100, but I'm not aware of what you're not aware of the level above you, so I don't know if it could be more. All I know is I've never reached this much, and I have actually, but not in a while, and I'm like re-owning that. And I really started re-owning lots of things from 2022 to 2023, which is actually when my spiritual awakening happened personally. And it was also when I was highest in frequency, because then it went down in 2024, 2025, and the big three things that I reincorporated, re-added in my life were gratitude, choosing, like being in my flow and just following my excitement and doing that all day and not having to worry about money and all these other things, because they will naturally align if I'm doing what I came here to do, here meaning on earth in this lifetime, right? So I didn't truly understand that, but now I understand the nuances more and more. And so today was massive in terms of how much progress I made. I set a goal. I was basically like, okay, so here, let's go back to the 31st, all right? We keep jumping timelines. So it's like those films that go back and then back in time and then forward in time and then back in time, but it's kind of fun. So here, let's try to follow along with me here. So back on the 31st, I was like, I gotta choose a location for the Uber. And I'm like, I gotta do the residency documents. I had two documents from my home country, and I needed to get them apostilled. And in my home country, they take 2, 3, 4 weeks, and then like they could apostille them. They could tell you, oh, by the way, yeah, they weren't apostilled. We didn't approve them. Or, oh, actually, you sent it to the wrong service, even though on the website it's the correct one. So that's what happened to me, by the way, with one of the documents. And then the second I got the other one, that's what I was waiting on in Canada, the last thing I was waiting on, which is basically 2 documents to come back to me in the mail, and then I left. And yeah, so one of them I sent to get apostilled because it arrived sooner, and then the second that came back, I left because the second document came in between. And yeah, it did not get apostilled. So today, I mean, the 31st, I ended up sending both documents to get apostilled via DHL Express. Now, I did the fastest option available, which was basically $200 US, 250 Canadian dollars. And how the fuck am I gonna pay for that, right? Because my Uber costed me like 25 Canadian dollars. I'm now at 75. I also withdrew some cash. Hope the angle is right. I also withdrew some cash, 50,000 Guarani. I don't know how much that is. Divide that by 9 approximately, and you get the US dollar amount. or was it 7,000 or 9,000, something like that. But anyway, you get the point. It's like, I don't know, maybe $20, and yeah, 25 bucks Canadian maybe. So the point is, I was like, well, I don't know, but I'm just gonna do it. So I went straight to DHL Express, which was in the mall, Paseo La Galeria. By the way, first mall that I've been to in Paraguay. I haven't been to the major malls. They're like tourist attractions, and I haven't visited any tourist attractions. I've just been trying to like survive basically. And now it's more like the thriving phase and the in between and the transition, but maybe more than a transition. Okay, maybe we're actually there. Now it's the thriving phase actually. I just have to like fucking accept that. Now is the thriving phase. Now is the thriving phase. Like it's completely like a 360. I would say 180 because 360 you're back to where you were. But it's a complete shift. It's an absolute complete shift. And I think the sun might be setting soon. It looks beautiful outside. Absolute like gorgeous view. And I know it's focused on me, but I hope you can see some of it. It's so cool. Like so many things to be grateful for. But yeah, I didn't know how I was gonna do it. I just did it. I just decided to do it. And I just went straight to DHL, to the mall, with my 3 luggage in my backpack, and I just carried it up the mall. The mall was beautiful. It had like nature too. It was so integrated, and I love this city. It's so integrated with nature. I mean, it's not as much as like holistic societies and other planets, but it's pretty damn, like, I think it's the closest I've experienced to that on Earth. So it's pretty epic. And there's palm trees here, which is always a plus. So it's pretty cool. It's really cool. So back to my point, I went straight there, straight to the store. I couldn't find it first, but then I eventually found the store. And now I'm like, okay, now what? What's the next step? I pulled up my phone and basically looked at what needs to be done for the apostille. I figured out it's $100 Canadian fee, and then it's basically $200 to ship it at DHL. That's when I found out the rate in person. It's when I asked them. And so that's $300 so far. No, $350 Canadian so far. And I had like maybe $50 Canadian. So I'm like, how the fuck am I gonna manifest this? I did not know. But eventually, what ended up happening, I'm just gonna skip through. My family ended up coming through, and my mom ended up being able to help me out. And so by me just being there and showing up, I found a way. But really the way came only because I took action and went there, and only then did the next step reveal itself. And that obviously has been a big theme since I came here, since November 14th. But yeah, that's the big thing. It's like you have to show up, and then it comes to you from the act of showing up. And that brings us to this point here, is like tomorrow, February 4th, 2026, I'm checking out by 10 a.m. and I don't know where I'm going to next. I still don't know. After this video, I'm going to try to see what I can do. And the reason why I say see what I can do instead of figure it out is because I realized figuring it out is being in the mental, is being in the mind, and there's nothing for you to figure out. You've already pre-planned this. You don't have to think about it. You just fucking do it. So what is there to do? Nothing, technically. But the only thing to do is to be embodied in your frequency, and then by frequency match, you will realign to your life path. And so authentically, everything that's not meant to be in your life will move away, and everything that is will come in. And so what came in for me so far? This beautiful apartment. What came out? The workaway situation, that city where I was in the middle of the wilderness, as great as nature is, I got sick of like the inconveniences there of being so rural and being so away from civilization. And like it did not feel like abundance to me. Usually nature feels like abundance to me, but specifically that kind of frequency and the state I was in there did not feel like abundance. So it was not authentic for me to stay there. And so I did it. I did not. I didn't. Not. I did it. It sounded so similar to I did it. I want to make sure you heard me correctly, because I don't know the background noise, if you're able to pick it up properly or not. I mean, hopefully you're not picking up the background noise. I don't know if you can pick up on my voice, I mean. So, the other thing I wanted to say is, So on the 31st, yeah, I ended up figuring that out. But then the next step was like, okay, I also need to print 2 forms that I need to fill out. So I then asked the DHL guy, like, I gotta print. Do you guys print? And he's like, yeah, we can print. I was like, okay, great. How much? He's like, don't worry about it. It's free. So he did that for free, and then I ended up finding a way to pay for everything else. And then I was like, great, we figured that out. Step 1 accomplished. And then I went back to the mall, went to Starbucks, bought some water, 1.2 liters, and I also hadn't eaten by that point. By the way, I ended up eating at like 8 p.m. 8 p.m. I ended up eating that day. But I'm fast forwarding, so let's go back 4 hours until 4 p.m. So that's how long I stayed at the mall. And then what? Basically, I was like, well, now I gotta figure out where I'm staying and how to get there. So Uber and Airbnb probably, but you know, other options could manifest themselves. But that's probably it. So then I looked at Airbnbs and tried to figure out the price, and noticed I was in a lack mentality and the opposite of abundance and gratitude, and realizing that the reason why I was in this state, and by the way, this is not an authentic state to me, this is the state I was that came as a result of programming and conditioning from the limiting environments I was in childhood and until I moved out. And I realized this isn't from me, this is just coming from not having enough money by the people who support me. So like my mom, for example, if she couldn't afford it, I would like start perceiving the price as like this limiting factor, when really I know I can do it. But because I was relying on her financially as a child, I had to like accept that. And so I realized outside of that environment, that does not apply. Anyway, I ended up looking at, was like, okay, what feels like abundance to me? That's what's authentic. So yeah, authenticity is parallel with abundance, at least for me. I think it's for everyone really, but not everyone's tapped into that shit or truly embodying it. But I was like, what feels like abundance? And I'm like, bro, I want to go to Las Carmelitas, which the second week here, I stayed at a friend's house, and I asked him like, what's the richest neighborhood here in the capital city? And he told me it was Las Carmelitas. And we also went to a party there. And I mean, I'm not a party guy anymore, but when I was with him, I felt like I had to, and we just fucking did it. But that was a nice apartment, so I was like, this is kind of cool. And when it was time for me to choose an apartment, I was like, I want to go here. I didn't know how I'm gonna fucking figure that out, but I was like, I'd really like to come here. How much is it? And I'm like, okay, it's like $250 for like 4 days. I don't know how I'm gonna do that, but let me look at other options. And then I was able to find $250 for a week, but subpar. I just didn't like it. I couldn't accept it. And like, saving that money was not worth the feeling of not feeling abundance, because it wasn't, in other words, it was like, it wasn't worth feeling inauthentic to compromise on the money by a certain bit. So I'm like, I don't know how, like, so I wanted that, I just didn't know how. And then it came through again, and I was able to manifest 4 days at an apartment like that. And so I got it, and then it was the Uber. And the Uber, my mom was actually like, just put it on my cards, and it was like, it's like $2, by the way. It was like $2 to $5. It was like nothing. That's like the least of my worries by that point. But yeah, I did that, and then I went to the grocery store. Actually, yeah, I Ubered here, I dropped off my luggage, and then I walked to the nearest grocery store, which again, I haven't been to Costa Rica. I've been to Super 6, but not Costa Rica. Costa Rica is the only place here that has Parmigiano Reggiano, but it's like $22.84 for 200 grams, which is fucking insane. Absolutely insane. Here, the meat is super cheap, but the cheese is super expensive. That's imported. That's why. It's because it's imported. And everything that's not imported is not fucking raw. It's all pasteurized bullshit. So I didn't want that. So yeah, I finally went to Costa Rica. I walked there, and I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna take the next step, which is to get my meat. I did not want to settle for the cheapest ground beef possible, which is what I was doing for the longest time, since I got here, basically. but especially at the workaway. So I got something in between, which was still ground beef, but not the absolute cheapest. And it's the ones here, and they're basically like 40% beef heart, 60% ground beef, and it's the fattiest ground beef I found. And so I just got enough of those for the stay that I was at that I was gonna stay at for the Airbnb, and those two you see on the counter are starting for tomorrow morning. So I'm basically done, and I'm also out of here. But I got everything, but I'm like, okay, now it's time to check out. I don't know how I'm gonna buy these, so I just waited with my cart there until I found an answer, until something came through, and nothing would come through until finally. I was so tired at this point. I remember, I think I started walking there at like 7:30 p.m., which is usually when I sleep. So I went to the grocery store when I was supposed to be asleep, and then I left the grocery store like 8:39, and I think I cooked, I cooked at 9, not at 8. So it was like 9 something, and I ended up sleeping at like 10. So it was absolutely insane. But also at the grocery store, it finally came through, and I manifested 60 Canadian dollars, and it was enough to pay for that. And then when I finally got to the apartment, I'm like, okay, I barely got by. I'm so grateful for all of this. It feels so fucking abundant, but I wouldn't feel good if I didn't make the absolute most of my time here at this apartment. And I ended up achieving that goal, by the way, this morning. And it was so fucking worth it. And the original plan was I started getting convinced by my family with the survival-based mentality and this, like, just get a part-time job, just get a job, remote job, and balance both. And I'm like, I wasn't buying that idea, obviously, because it's 2026. I've already thought about these things. But what I did started considering is, what if I sell like high-ticket services like consulting or something like that, where it's not what I am doing with the launch, but it's still part of my skill set, and then I just need to find a way that's authentic where I can do that. And that was the goal. And so I kind of told my family, thank you guys. I was just like, again, this is the point when I was like bringing back the gratitude. So I just started expressing gratitude to everyone, and like, thank you so much for your support so far, and I want to let you know, like, that's what I'm doing, kind of thing, and about an update, and that I plan on figuring this out, and that I'm making progress, and like, I want to make my stay worth it by finding an answer for this. And then I didn't end up doing that, but I did end up doing that, but I didn't end up doing it through that job, because I realized it's not authentic. So I actually looked into it, but it wasn't authentic. Then I was like, okay, fine, what's authentic? And it wasn't the launch either, but it was staying in my purpose frequency, which again was the reason why I left the workaway, because I couldn't be in that state 24/7. And at the time, that was manifesting through me working on the business, on the offer work. But now it could be anything. So I ended up like, it's like a disappointment to them in a way, but in another way it wasn't. And then I just realized, yeah, February 1st, February 2nd, and now February 3rd, I realized that I have this split. And this was the other thing I reclaimed, which was that flow state, that state of like just being my spiritual, authentic self and just following my excitement and not worrying about the money and all these things. And I realized I had this internal split between a part of me that was the masculine, survival-based protector and provider, I would say, and then the feminine, in the flow, kind of like authentic part. And it was really interesting because I should probably sit back down. Okay, let me find this spot here. But I realized that this split was the reason why I haven't, like, it was the thing to figure out. And I'm like, if I do one thing, or if I know one thing, it's that I'm gonna figure out this parts work and resolve this resistance by the time I'm out of this apartment, and somehow that would be worth it. I couldn't conceive of why that is. I just felt like that would be true. I just felt like that is true intuitively. And then it ended up being the thing. And then I unlocked more and more things, and the $10,000 realization this morning. But I ended up resolving that as far as I can fucking tell. I can tap into my excitement like this and go to 100, and it's absolutely fucking insane. And so that's what's been happening lately. I just wanted to give you an update. I left the workaway. I started pursuing my purpose full time, and the universe rewarded me for that basically. And now I'm in the richest neighborhood in Asuncion, and I got to enjoy this for 4 days. And I feel like intuitively, remember when I was saying intuitively, that's what I felt, but I didn't know it at the time, and then it ended up happening. Well, now what I feel intuitively is, I don't know if this is true and I can't confirm it, but intuitively I feel like this is just a taste, a teaser from the universe of abundance. This is a teaser for abundance. Like, this is like a sneak peek of like, this is what abundance could look like if you follow your purpose. That's what I truly feel like this is. Even though you could say, I don't know how I'm going to figure the rest out from here. I don't even know where I'm going to next from here. But all I have certainty about in terms of my intuition is that. Is like, this was actually a sneak peek, because this was just like a cradle, a safety net, just like the workaway was to embody my purpose. Now this was a safety net for me to like resolve this so I can be out in the world and tap into the other thing. And so it was another stepping stone. It wasn't the final destination. And let me show you a nice synchronicity here. You won't see it because it'll blur it out. But right behind that crane, do you see that thing in red right over here? So it's basically a billboard slash container, and it's in red, and the text is white, and it's in serif, the font, and it's SC, which to me stands for Starseed Central, the name of our community, which is absolutely fucking insane. And this felt like, I was thinking about this before I left, and I want to end this video there. Let me just take the camera with me. This is fun. So I wanted to end, I was thinking while I was still there in Kakupe at the workaway, I was thinking, like, what's our next abundant landing zone? I was thinking, like, if I was a ship and I was to park at the new place, the landing zone, like, what would be the next abundant landing zone that's more abundant than here? And it ended up being here, which I didn't know at the time. And yeah, and this was like our headquarters in Asuncion. So like, Starseed Central, the sign right in fucking front of us, and I was working on Starseed Central on the laptop right over here, and we're literally working on the community. And that was so cool how it was such a synchronicity. But I realized it's not about the offer work anymore, because again, the biggest realization I hit, which again, if you remember Florida, the first week of me moving out, which I don't count in like the day whatever of being in Paraguay, the total day counts, which by the way is like 8 days more than Paraguay, because 1 day for the flight from Toronto to New York to Florida, and then 7 days in Florida. And if you remember, in Florida, day 1 to 7, day 0 I guess we'll count that as the first day, but day 1 to 7 was in Florida. I tried to just batch post a bunch of videos, batch record and then upload a bunch of videos for the business to get people in. And then I realized that wasn't authentic, and that was like the business mode and not the spiritual authentic, what I actually want to do. And so I stopped doing that, and I didn't launch in Florida. And then I just followed my excitement, which at the time was actually starting this very series. And so I just did that. And then here I fell into the same dynamic, November 14th up until, and all of November, and then December, and then January. And then I realized now in February, or at the end of January I should say, well, between the two, in this transition stage, I realized this entire time I haven't learned the fucking lesson, which is that the launch, this idea of like needing to launch by a certain deadline, no matter what the deadline is, even though I thought like it was authentic for me to set a deadline, but I realized there was a stressful part of the deadline, which was like the very real fact that I'll get kicked out of the country if I don't figure it out. But then I realized even then, even when I'm not thinking about it that way, and I'm just setting the deadline for the sake of like, I authentically want to have a time that I want to like achieve this by, so that I can take action toward it. I realize even that is not authentic, and it's not because of the deadline itself, but it's actually because I was like, the intention and the approach from, and the mindset from which I was approaching the entire thing was wrong. Let's call it, was the part that is questionable, let's say. Okay, let me explain what I mean by that. And it's because I was retro engineering it, like, okay, I need $1,700 to $2,300. How is the universe going to provide that for me? I don't know. Well, it was again that masculine survival based mindset, and part of me that needed to figure it out. And so he felt like I had to do business work in order to achieve that. And so I was like, all right, then it's business work. But I realized, and part of what got me to this entire realization, which again, I unlocked between yesterday and actually no, basically since I got to this apartment. And it was that, well, first of all, the offer specifically, the offer work, like there was just, I got to a certain point where at some point, I don't know, it just didn't feel authentic to work on the offer. Not at all. Like there were some parts still enjoyable, but overall it wasn't enjoyable anymore. And I just didn't know how to piece it all together. And I don't know, it just wasn't my excitement. And I thought it was about like how I was doing that, but it was really just about the thing itself. Like the task itself is not enjoyable. And then I realized why. First I thought maybe it's the intention behind it, but then I realized no, it's because, well, yeah, part of it is the intention behind it, but it's also like, no, actually it is just the intention behind it, because now I'm still working on the launch, but not for the sake of launching, just for the sake of like, just fucking living. And like the launch just happens naturally as I express myself, but it's not for the sake of launching for the sake of a certain deadline. I'm not doing it because of that anymore. I'm doing it just to be in the frequency of doing it, because I actually I like that process. I like the day by day. Like for example, the website, I don't like the process of working on the website, but I do like the result. And I like and I found an authentic way to work on the website as well, although it's still not as authentic as me actually pursuing my purpose tasks, like recording, for example, or other parts of the business and of other things, or like writing songs. Like last night I wrote a song, or part of a song, 2 verses I think, and like that's just the authentic thing to do. And so like frequency is the center. And then it made so much sense to me. It made so much sense that I'm meant to be in my frequency again from like 2023, because like I am meant to bring other people through this. So of course I should be at that state, and to set the example and to lead by example. Like it only makes sense for me to be in that state. Like why would I be an inferior version of me and be able to help others the most? Like that wouldn't make sense. How I can help people the most is when I'm at my peak, my prime, you could say, in terms of that stuff. So it just made so much sense why I'm like destined to be in that state all the time and in my purpose embodied. But yeah, it was just this interesting dynamic. So when I realized that about the launch, I eventually came to the realization that, again, it was about the frequency, not about figuring out the money. And then just being the frequency, you'll manifest the money, which again is easier said than done. But you just gotta be in the frequency, and everything else will figure itself out for you, literally. Like it's that easy. The hard part is when you sabotage yourself out of that frequency, if you do that for whatever reason. So you just gotta stay in it and believe it and have the trust in yourself, your higher self, really, which is you with full memory that pre-planned all this. So it's like a level of your soul, you could say, or it is your soul, same thing, whatever. It's all the same person. We're all one at the end of the day, just from different perspectives. From the lower end, from the higher end, we're all one, like objectively, and there is no subjective reality at that point. It's just source, oneness, also nothingness, and everything in between. So yeah, that brings us to today, which is, again, February 1st, February 2nd, February 3rd. I did some work. I tried embodying my purpose more. I did try to do more offer work, but again, it just like wasn't working out quite right. But then today, everything fucking changed. Today was a huge spike in frequency. Like I just went like this, and I realized one of my strong, and I also like literally just showering this morning, I got like 90 flow state ideas, like 3 or 4 or 5 website pages ideas, like 2 video ideas, fucking so many like speaking event slash video, like basically public speaking and selling, like sales, like so much flow state for that. Also like recording a VSL for the community page, so like, and so many other things. And I just like, it was again, it was such a peak today, and I was fully in my purpose energy. And I shared that with one of my friends, actually 2 of my friends, maybe, yeah, both of my friends. And one responded and was like, so like he received it very positively, and I also started alchemizing the living shit out of everything. Like it was so magical today. I also started, for example, like the website work. I found a way to authentically do website work, and to kind of like do you know that scene in Star Wars Episode 2 when Yoda goes against Count Dooku, and Count Dooku uses the lightning, and then Yoda makes like this energy force ball and like sends it back to him, and so he's like transmuting the energy and rechanneling it into something else, and like that's basically what I was doing all day. And I did that with the website. I was able to transmute the idea of like, it was literally the most draining task for me, and I was able to transform that into something that actually gives me purpose energy, gives me energy to work on. Like that's fucking crazy. And so that's why I've been working on the website, and it's a reframing and it's a different approach to it, but the actual task is more or less the same. I would say the task is slightly different in that you're not doing certain bullshit tasks that would just be procrastination, but more or less it's overall the same task. You're just doing it from a different perspective and from a different approach, and or different mindset, different intention, etc. And the other thing I transmuted is negative messages I was receiving and people's like doubts and survival shit. Not that I was engaged in it before, but now I'm able to reply to them in a very empowered, very positive, like the universe channeling spiritual expansion through me and delivering it to these people and giving them growth opportunities, basically, to like see and to like be open, like, wow, like this is possible to do it this way with the purpose stuff. And so, for example, this morning, I think it was my mother, she sent me like, not necessarily a negative message, but you could interpret it as such. And then I just transmuted it and sent something back, and I didn't see her reply, but I just intuitively felt like it would be a negative answer. And so I was waiting to reply to it when I was in a more like high ground, empowered state. But whenever I tap into that state, I can like transform the energy of it. And it was just beautiful. It was amazing. And like it just kept happening all day, basically. And so this is like the new baseline. That was the biggest thing. I was like recording a voice message to my friend, and I said those exact words. This is actually my new baseline. That's so fucking whack. And it's absolutely true. I went from, and this I think resolves my depression for good, basically. This also resolves my psychosomatic ailment of my eyes not wanting to see up close, basically nearsightedness, because that's not what I signed up for in life, basically. I don't want to see that shit. And it was also linked to the depression, because depression, you could say, is like the other side of the coin of purpose. It's like anti-purpose. There's another perspective on it. It's the shadow work perspective, which is that depression is resistance to powerlessness, and that's also true. But I like to, and obviously, so I think it's multi-layered, but for me, the only layer that's relevant is that one, the purpose one, because I already resolved the other one in 2024 when I was in like pure shadow work mode for a whole year. Yeah, I'm not joking. Like that entire year was just shadow work. I did nothing else. I didn't even pursue my purpose. It was crazy. It's crazy. It was draining to not be in your purpose energy. And I grieve some of those days in terms of like they could have been better with my purpose. But yeah, I was like all in on fucking shadow work. And now I have the skill set for it and I keep doing it, but I balance it with purpose, of course. And so, yeah, and I realized a more authentic, after this realization of okay, I don't need to do this launch in this rigid way, I realized the rigidity is the launch. The rigidity was like, to me, the relevance of that word, let me like telepathically infuse that word with what it means to me. It's like the rigidity is like this matrix approach, this 3D masculine, like rigid business, pure business approach to life, which is like you have to follow the script. You have to follow this, like you have to go to university, then you have to do this, and you have to follow this rigid bullshit. Even when you're a business owner, it's still more or less like a fucking script. You have to grind your ass off. You have to, like, come on, dude. Like, there's no fun in it. And then the other way, and so sorry, and I realized the launch is that exact fucking frequency. Versus, yeah, the other way was like just flowing, just flow state, just authenticity, embodiment, purpose, what you actually want to do, like fun, creating, just because you want to create, like living, just living, living the best way possible, like gratitude, joy, like high frequency shit. And it's so fun, and that's different than actually trying to bypass those emotions or suppressing them or ignoring them or bulldozing them. That's very different. This is just embodying them. Like literally, it's an upgrade. It's like first you resolve the negative emotions instead of bulldozing them, and then you just tap into the positivity. And I guess you could just, I mean, each is a different stage to be respected, and has its own merit. But I'm at the point where my baseline is that fucking high, and I have the rule of thirds here, the grid. And like there's the lower one here and the higher one here. And it's like literally the depression was here and the purpose was here, and it's such a good like visual representation of what I'm explaining. That was pretty cool. I hope I know what you're talking about. You know when you put the camera and it shows you the grid, right? Yeah. Okay, I think you get I think you get what I mean. I can't speak anymore. But yeah, you can see me in the mirror back there. But yeah, it's pretty fun, and I realized the rigidity was the launch itself. So I was like, fuck, well now I have to drop the idea of this launch, that it needs to happen by a certain time. And validly, the first thing I worried about was, well, how am I gonna figure out, well, you know, the February 12th deadline, which is very real. But then I got to the point where, again, it's not about the money, it's not about the deadlines, it's not about the date, it's about the frequency. And the way I fucking quantum leaped from one thing to the other today alone, like, I feel like my method, what I'm gonna be good at, is quantum leaps and literal teleportation. I just like disappear from here and reappear where I want to be. That is like my skill set and what I teach people. I don't teach you this linear graph where you gradually improve over time. I teach you how to fucking teleport to your destination. It's not necessarily easy, but it's fucking worth it. And it's kind of like stellar navigation and all these concepts that relate to the same thing, because it's all based on consciousness. But yeah, like quantum leaps, quantum jumps, like that's where it's at. That's where the fun shit's at. And it's all about, like, when you journal, for example, it's like the highest ROI, I would say, as a business owner so far, the highest ROI activities are shadow work and journaling. Like, there's nothing more ROI. Journaling is fucking crazy. Sometimes the realizations that you get to are absolutely fucking insane. And, oh yeah, say hi to my Moldavite. He's over here. Oh yeah, maybe I can show you this time with the sun. Maybe you can see the color more. Oh man, you still can't see it. Another day perhaps. Oh, here it's slightly better. No, it's very bright green. You can't see the color properly because the sun is setting. Okay. Just wanted to show you that. Yeah, the Moldavite is like really nice because it just puts everything on steroids and crack in terms of speed and transformation. And I just already love and embody that energy anyway. Oops, I was out of frame there. But yeah, so quantum leaps is the new strategy. It's not linear growth. And so I can manifest more money than that in a shorter amount of time. It's not about the time, it's about the state. And I really understood that. And yeah, like I am so excited to see what's to come next. I have no idea. I felt like it would be authentic. So this wraps up everything so far. But yeah, I realized the rigid way was the launch itself, so I just dropped that. And then I went fully, and that's when my entire day just transformed basically from the morning, from like 9 or 10 a.m. I mean, it would have happened earlier, but I just woke up so fucking late because I slept late actually. I don't know why. Oh yeah, I know why. It's because yesterday I was engaged in that feminine versus masculine dynamic, and I like wanted to force myself to do offer work, but the other part of me just retaliated. It's like, I'm not gonna do that because it was like a should. Oh, I should do that. I was like, no, I don't want to do that. So I ended up procrastinating productive procrastination. You know that shit? Fucking bullshit. And then I just ended up, doing fuck all basically. And this was like the second half of the day. But I ended up staying up past my bedtime, which was 7, until like 12:45 a.m. But at 11:30, I ended up flow staying a song, which was amazing. So for like maybe, I think from 11 to 12 it was fine, but the rest of my day was like iffy. Like not the second half of my day, other than that like half an hour, it wasn't good. And it was because I was engaged in this dynamic, which was a good thing, and I'm grateful that happened. I'm literally grateful for that experience, because the next day I saw that clear as fucking day, literally, because it was daytime. And I got to the fucking bottom of it. I was able to identify, oh, that's what was happening yesterday. And yeah, I resolved the dynamic. I integrated that entire fucking bullshit. And it's not bullshit, like really, from the parts perspective, they each had a valid point. But I integrated the bullshit I was experiencing as a result of having struggled with that dynamic, or struggling with that dynamic, but not anymore. So it's great now. It's awesome. I'm just happy to be where I am. I have no idea what's to come. But yeah, the only other thing left to say here is 2 things. 1, I realized, I think on the 1st or the 2nd, which was yesterday or the day before, I realized that it was actually authentic for me to have the next place figured out before checkout time. And I felt like that was going to happen today in the second half of the day. However, so far it hasn't happened, and I might have been blocking it by working more instead of just like sitting, breathing, and just being open and seeing where my excitement takes me. I'm gonna try to do that now, but I feel like it's too late. Worst case scenario is just tomorrow. The reason why it feels more abundant to do that is because I just like take my 3 luggage, my bags, just straight to the new apartment, and I don't have to think about it, instead of having to carry them around everywhere and do all this in between, which I realize doesn't feel abundant to me. However, I was able to reframe that on the 31st when I came with my luggage to the mall in the following manner, which was like, I am grateful for the freedom I have, because like my life is basically between, well, my own self and body, but like basically I have everything I need with me. So I'm like mobile to be anywhere in the world. So I have my full freedom thanks to these bags. And so it was a way of reframing it with the gratitude, and it made me grateful. Like, yeah, like it's so true. At the same time though, it's still an inconvenience to grab all of them with me wherever I go. So while I'm still grateful for them, preferably, if it's possible not to do that, it would be really nice. And that would be a very nice upgrade from when I first got here, since November 14th, which is when I was carrying these luggages everywhere, struggling and not being in an abundant state, not being embodied in my purpose. And so I knew this was gonna happen all along, but now I know for a fact that it happened. And I had this inner knowing from day 1. And I'm gonna share with you what that is, and I'm gonna leave the video here, okay? Hopefully the background noise is not too loud. See that beautiful sunset? Absolutely magnificent, look at that. Wow. Beautiful, beautiful. And you can see me here in the, where is it? Where's my finger? There it is. There. You can see me in the mirror, which by the way, I did not have a mirror. I had to work away for like the whole fucking time. I had to shave with my front facing camera of the phone and like ripped my skin off. I mean, that's an exaggerated way of saying cut myself. But yeah, I cut myself several times trying to shave there because I had no fucking proper mirror. And then I shaved like the first day I got here. Not the night when I ate at like 9 p.m. Then the next day, the February 1st, which was 2 days ago. And I took a beautiful long shower in the morning. Not long, but relatively long. Like it could have been shorter. Not as long as like a woman's shower probably. But yeah, it was so enjoyable and I was flow stating and just it felt so clean and hygienic and abundant to be here in Asuncion and to be here at this apartment, and I'm so grateful for all of it. But yeah, let's go back and end this video off with that last point there. Let me just try to remember where I was at. What I knew from day one in Paraguay, that I now know for a fact because I experienced it, was that me finally taking the leap, this is for you at home. This is like the actionable step for you to take, okay? If you want to take it. It's up to you. It's your challenge. I mean, it's a challenge I'm offering you, and you can accept it or not. But what I knew all along since day one, and hearing all this guidance, all this channeled message guidance as well, was that like just take the fucking leap. Just trust yourself. Trust your life plan, basically. Trust your higher self to guide you. Trust your guides to guide you, whatever. And I just had to fucking trust, and I had so much fear, obviously, naturally, but I had to do it anyway, and eventually I fucking did it. And what I knew all along, I'm not trying to drag this on, I'm just like really emphasizing how fucking important this is. All along, I knew that finally leaving that limiting environment, finally moving out of Canada, moving out of my hometown, and moving out of my family's house, basically, out of that household, was moving out of there and somewhere else. That somewhere else was gonna recalibrate me back into my authentic frequency, because now nothing's holding me back and my baseline is naturally higher, because I was being weighed down like an anchored down by the frequency of that place, by the place itself. And I'm not saying that to disempower you, but I am saying it to make you aware that your environment is severely fucking limiting you, most likely. And if I knew, again, from day one, if I were to move out, I would just, I didn't know how, I didn't know why, I didn't know, all I knew is like, I just knew this, I just felt this was true. And when I left, and again, like 3 months later, basically, I would say I have achieved that, which is that one way or another, I have recalibrated myself to my frequency, to my purpose, to my authenticity. I'm not guaranteeing any of the results that I achieve, that you will achieve them too, but you're probably gonna get something, and that something is gonna be more than you staying where you are. So like, if you're doubting yourself, if you wanna take the leap, if you wanna do something with your life, if you wanna like try something like this, like a wild adventure, you're probably not gonna regret it. Like, the worst thing you can get is more life experience. The best thing you could get is life experience plus be in a better place at the end of it than when you started. And I think with the experience, you'll always end up in a better place. And yeah, I just want to leave it there. I want to leave it at that. And I just realized the lighting there was absolute shit. I wasn't looking at the camera. But, oh, there is a fly on this floor. I gotta close these windows before more come in. I don't know if that was a fly or what, or some type of bug. Ah, yes, please. Ah, yes, you may leave. Yes, please. Go ahead. Do the honors yourself. You may help yourself. I'm gonna leave that one open. Yes, there you go. It left. All right, now we're closing it. All right, and yeah, that's how it happened. Like, I ended up recalibrating myself back to my frequency, back to my authentic state, And when there's nothing weighing you down, again, you're like the average of the 5 people you spend around, you spend the most time with. You're the average of the content you consume, the 5 creators you consume, if like all you watch is YouTube, for example, etc., etc. I knew these concepts, but that's when I got to truly live it and experience it. And it's so true. And now I have created this new concept called, I just coined it frequency poisoning, which is anything that takes you out of your purpose energy and your authentic frequency, which is really one and the same. Anything that poisons my frequency is not something since like January 25th was it? That Sunday. Ever since that day, I did not let anything stop. And I said this in another video, but I did not let anything get in my field. Basically, I just said no to everything else unless it added to my life in terms of being in my authentic frequency. And since then, more or less, I've maintained that. And this is the new baseline now. And all of that happened because I took that fucking leap in the beginning. And my friend was actually telling me about this and reflecting back to me how in his life, he doesn't have as much trust in the universe and in himself and whatnot. And I just thought back to my journey, and I just realized that, and I felt, and that's how I ended up sharing this with you here. But I just realized that it's like I've come a long fucking way in those 3 months. That deserves some recognition or at least acknowledgement. And so, yeah, I want to circle this back to you. And it's like, if you're waiting on something to take the leap, if you've been wanting, I need to keep coming back to the light because the lighting's so bad. If you need like validation or a permission slip to take the leap, let this be your sign. Let this be your guidance step. Let this be your permission slip to do it, because you can achieve all of this. You can achieve more. You can achieve less. How are you going to know till you find out? Fuck around and find out. Like literally in the best way possible. So yeah, dude, I gotta leave you there. Look at this beautiful sunset over here. Again, on the 17th floor in Asuncion, specifically in a very nice neighborhood, to say the least, if not the best, in my opinion. And yeah, I don't know where we're going from here. I don't know the next place. I literally don't know. Tonight, after this video, or I'm probably gonna sleep though, very soon, but maybe it'll come tonight, maybe it'll come tomorrow, and I'll just keep you guys updated and go from there. But I do want to say one thing for the record, for accountability purposes, that I haven't, the reason why I haven't been recording as many videos since like the 27th, 28th, which was my last video, is because I have such a backlog of videos that I felt like I'm just adding more to the pile, and it wasn't really helping. But then I realized how important it was for me to record these videos because it puts me in the right frequency, and it is a purpose task of mine at the end of the day. And I also realized how to, again, one of the $10,000 realization this morning was how to expedite the launch by 10x, literally, which was absolutely insane. I didn't dive into the details of that maybe in this video, but it's not relevant. You'll just see it play out. That will be pretty enjoyable. Or maybe I'll dive into it in a different video. But basically the point is, I can go back to the state of posting and doing what I enjoy and still be able to launch. But this time authentically, not the rigid way, but the authentic way, the purpose-driven way, the embodiment, the being in the present moment because you enjoy the process, not because you're looking for the end result. And it's so hard to understand that mentally if you have never experienced it. So yeah, as I look over at the beautiful sunset, I want to say thank you for watching. Thank you for following this series. For some reason, this feels like the end of the series, even though it's technically not. But I guess I've achieved my goal of like embodying my purpose almost fully, if not fully. And so it feels like I've achieved the goal of some kind. And although I didn't set a specific marker, I'm going to continue this series, I think, because the end goal is really the residency and the launch of the business, and basically starting to make money through my purpose, through my authentic desire. And that would be a very nice goal to reach, because then for people who have a lot of doubt with that, like, I would be living proof that you can do it. And so I really want to be that proof for other people, and that permission slip for them to just follow their fucking dreams, because that's why you fucking came here. You literally came here for no other reason than to follow your authentic excitement, your desires, because that is literally your compass, your GPS, guiding you to the path, which is your life plan. And so yeah, if you want to support me, just give this video some love. If you just watch all my videos anyway, you might as well subscribe. And if you want to work with me closely and actually get results and need help implementing stuff, then you could also check out our community in the description. It's going to be the first link usually. Otherwise, it's chris-star.com/community, dash as in the hyphen. I'm trying to get another domain that doesn't have a fucking hyphen. But yeah, chris-star.com/community. You could also just go on the website in general if you want to see it. I don't know. But yeah, that's what I've been working on. It's a work in progress currently, but maybe when you're seeing this, it's done. Who knows? I gotta get a developer at some point. So if you're a developer, hit me up. There's a section on the website probably for that, for you to reach out. But yeah, I want to leave it here. I'm just like, the sunset is like such a cinematic, storytelling driven way of ending a video like this. And yeah, it just feels like the end of a series, or rather the end of an era and the start of a new one. And I think that's what it really is. Like, we are like, 2026 is going to be fucking insane. So while the series isn't over, a cycle has ended and a new one does begin. And I'm so excited to be sharing that with you. Oh man, now I just want to fucking sleep and fucking get up at 5 a.m. in the morning. So I'll leave it there. I'm so notorious for not actually ending the video when I say I will. But this is actually the end. Okay? Take care. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers. Click it.